Fredericks Show.
Yeah, it's great to have you back. Nick Freitas with us. How's the delegates member, Culpeper? Hey, that's not far from Manassas. It's only, a couple miles up there on 95 Manassas. That's where we have the communist delegate up there, Lee Carter, running for re-election. I think he's being challenged in a primary, hashtag Commie Lee. So you got communists running around the House of Delegates. Good thing you got Nick Freitas there with the Lantern of Liberty. Nick, great to have you with us, man.
Great to be on, John. Thanks for having me.
So, Nick, your wife, Tina Freitas, running for state Senate against Emmett Hanger. Now, I got to tell you what, Pete Snyder came on my show the other day. Big endorsement for Tina. We were excited about that. That's a pretty big deal. And what did you make of that?
Well, look, Pete has been working with the Republican Party for a long time in Virginia. He certainly understands a lot about campaigning. He understands about what's going on within the Virginia General Assembly. So it was certainly an honor to have him support Tina. And I think it shows that there's a broad base of support. And people want to see a change within the 24th Senate District. They want to see someone that is actually going to stand by the Republican creed and is going to vote that way. And again, like I think Pete said it best. It's not that Emmett's not a nice guy. He is. But he has had several votes over his career, and especially in the last 4 years, that have just been incredibly troubling to conservatives, whether it be on Second Amendment rights, on abortion, on taxes. And so I think this is the year. And Tina's done a great job. She's working incredibly hard. I think they will have knocked on over 50,000 doors by the time this is over. So I think Tina's going to pull up an upset.
Well, that's how you win races. You knock on doors. That's the bottom line. You have these incumbents. They don't want to do it. They want to send mailers out. And, when you get to the end of the campaign, especially in a primary like this, Nick, you've been involved in one. You know what's going to happen. There's going to be robocalls. There's going to be emails. There's going to be texts. There's going to be all the tricks, emails under names that don't exist. We've all been there. But there's nothing that is more effective than going out talking to voters and knocking on doors. That's what Tina's doing, and that's why I think she's going to win this race. Now, let me ask you something. So I talked to Pete yesterday, and I was kind of impressed with his big endorsement. He's got a fundraiser for Tina coming up on May 30th that I'm invited to in Arlington. I'm fired up about that. But when I was talking to Pete, he said to me that he was going to match, I don't know if he told you this, he said that he was going to match up to $2,500 from the grassroots over the next 3 days, I think starting today. Is that real?
Oh, no, that's real. Pete's a man of his word, and he's serious about making sure that Tina has the resources that she needs in order to win this race. And I have no doubt in my mind that both the grassroots and Pete will come through on that promise.
Okay, so here's the deal. If you donate to Tina now, every dollar up to $2,500 gets matched. So that gives the Tina Freitas for Senate campaign another $5,000 in order to compete in this race. People want to donate. Look, it doesn't matter. If you give 25, it's 50. You give 50, it's 100. You give 10, it's 20. You give 20, it's 40. Just double it. Whatever you can give, do it now. Pete's going to match it. And I want Pete to spend that $2,500. Pete, I'm gonna make sure you have to spend this $2,500 if you're listening. Nick, people wanted to donate a few bucks, get Pete to match it. Where do they go?
They go to tina4va.com. That's Tina, the number 4va.com.
Okay, go to tina4va.com and give whatever you can. Pete's going to match it. You got 3 days to do it, and hopefully you can give her $5,000, and then they can take that money and they could run radio advertising ads with me. This is like the perfect storm of all time. You got to go and give Tina money because then she can run ads with me, and that ensures her victory. That is a done deal. So go to tinaforsenate.com and give her that $5,000 so we can get it here and she can buy radio ads on our show. Because everybody knows when you're running in a Republican primary, yet you advertise on the John Fredericks Radio Network, you win. It's like I'm like 1,000 for 1,000 over a short period of time. Democratic primary, not so much, but Republicans, absolutely. Okay, let's get to Nick Freitas. Nick, so.
Yes.
Nick, so listen, I'm looking at this race here. Who's going to run against Abigail Spanberger in the 7th District? And I'm kind of flipping the pages, looking at the candidates, and I come across this one candidate, Amanda Chase. Start reading a little about her recently. That's not going to work, so I kind of turned that page. And then look at a couple others. Somebody's running now, never heard of her, has no money, no name ID. That's not going to work. And then I look at Abigail Spanberger, and she's going to raise a ton of money. And then I got this, I look at House of Delegates member, ran for U.S. Senate, statewide candidate, Nick Freitas, almost pulled off an upset. And I'm saying, wow, imagine if he ran for Congress in the 7th District. Boy, Abigail would certainly have her hands full of that, wouldn't she? Nick?
Well, I'm running for re-election to the House of Delegates right now, and I think the most important thing that we have to focus on for this election cycle is maintaining our majorities within the Virginia General Assembly. So we've already seen what the Democrats will try to get through. Delegate Lopez, a Democrat from Northern Virginia, has already come on and said that if they take the majority, they will accomplish in 2 afternoons what they've tried to accomplish for a lifetime, which is terrifying when you look at some of the legislation they tried to pass last year with getting rid of right to work, having their own version of a very ridiculous Green New Deal bill, the taxpayer-funded abortion all the way up until the point of birth. So we have to stay focused on the race that we're currently in, and that's maintaining the majorities within the Virginia General Assembly. I mean, obviously, we need to find a candidate who can run against Abigail Spanberger and take back that seat. I think that is a conservative seat. It was very upsetting when Dave Bratt lost last year. I think he had done a great job. So we need to do that, but we need to focus on the fight that we're in, not the fight that's coming up next year.
Yeah, I know all that, but somebody just sent me a poll. This is why I wanted to have you on yesterday, an internal, not from your organization, that shows you for the 7th Republican nomination way ahead of everybody else, even people that have been in office much longer. What do you think about that?
Well, it's nice to know that if you decided to run for an office, that there'd be a good base of support for you to do that. But I really cannot emphasize enough that if we don't stay focused on what we're trying to do this year, we will lose the majorities in the Virginia General Assembly, and Virginia is going to look very, very differently. Well, and I don't think it's going in a direction that any of us want us to. So I would just ask everybody that the 7th District race is incredibly important. There's going to be plenty of time to focus on that. I'm focusing on the House of Delegates and ensuring that we maintain our majority there, trying to help on the Senate side as well to maintain our majority. That is where I would ask voters to focus their attention right now.
Well, listen, we've said this over and over. Republicans are at risk in the House in 2019 because of the redistricting fiasco that has gone on. And there's a couple of seats that the Republicans have that are gone, or they're at very grave risk. So you got to have to pick some seats up in order to maintain that slim majority. But here's the bottom line. You got 2 things going on, Nick, and you're absolutely right, Nick Freitas. Number one is if the Democrats take control of the Democratic governor and most likely a Democratic state Senate also, because the Dick Black seat is gone. I don't care what you guys say, you're not going to win that seat. That's gone. So you're 2020 on a good day. So you're going to probably lose that. But look, if you lose, first thing they're going to do is you're going to get Kathy trans bill right back. You're going to be able to exterminate babies right out of the womb, right? You're going to get that. They're going to eliminate right to work. That's going to be a disaster for Virginia. That's one of the things that have brought jobs here. Look, and I'm a pro-union guy, but I want to join a union because I want to join a union. I don't want to have to join it, or I get shipped out to sea, right? So, and God knows what else they're going to do. Look, you've got a communist, Lee Carter, in the House of Delegates in Manassas. I mean, the guy's an avowed socialist. I mean, it's crazy what they're going to do. The second thing is, if you lose and Kirk Cox isn't the speaker, how are you going to raise money? You'll never raise any money. And so you'll be relegated to the minority for a generation. So the stakes, Nick, are really, really high, aren't they?
Oh, no, they're incredibly high. And I think the thing people need to understand is that every once in a while they'll get focused on a particular race in their district, and that makes sense. People are worried about their particular representative, but we need to look beyond that, because what's actually going to happen if the Democrats take control is just what you said. They're going to control all of the committees, all of those bills that would be absolutely detrimental to Virginia economically, socially. They're going to make it through. And the thing that they need to realize is that if you look at the top 3 members of the executive branch right now, they're all held by Democrats. You have 2 that are mired in racism scandals. You have 1 that's mired in a sexual assault scandal, and you're about to give them complete power over the legislature within Virginia if the Democrats take the majority. If Eileen Filler-Cohen becomes the speaker, we're going to see some of the most radical legislation that you've ever seen. It is going to look like New York. Because that is who's in control of the Democratic Party right now. Again, I think you've got a lot of people out there. You've got a lot of people that are even Democrats out there that were shocked by some of the bills that Democrat legislators were carrying last year. And the only thing that stood in the way of those more extreme bills becoming law was the fact that we had a slim majority in the General Assembly that was able to stop it. But if those all make it to the governor's desk, well, then, yes, you're going to have someone like Ralph Northam who thought it was perfectly appropriate to put pictures of Klansmen and blackface into his yearbook, signing those laws. You're going to have someone like Justin Fairfax casting the deciding vote in the Senate, who is mired in 2 sexual assault scandals right now. And it's not even sexual assault. I mean, he was accused of rape. And every time that those rape victims have asked us, every time they have asked us for some sort of hearing, since both of the crimes took place outside of Virginia, the Virginia General Assembly is the one body that could actually provide some sort of hearing right now to give a fair shake both to them and to Justin Fairfax. And we have come forward and we've said, look, we will give the Democrats what they want in order to do this hearing. Let us know what would work for you. We'll make it bipartisan. We'll make sure that it's not just run by the Republicans. We'll make it a 5-5 panel and allow people to have their say and to be able to come forward and defend themselves. And essentially what the Democrats have said is we don't want to do anything like that. So the same Democrat leadership that was all up in arms when this first happened, calling for resignations, they're completely silent on it right now. Because it's more important to them to maintain power and to increase their power, because they're more concerned about passing their own version of a Green New Deal. They're more concerned about forcing taxpayers to fund abortion all the way up to the point of birth. And we're not talking about for life of the mother. We're talking about for any reason you can pretty much dream up, any sort of medical reason you can dream up. They want taxpayers to fund that. And then right to work. You made a great point here, John. Right to work is not an anti-union bill. What right to work essentially says is that if you're working at a job, you should be able to keep that job regardless of whether or not you want to join a union. And if we get rid of right to work laws, you could lose your job. Not because you did a bad job, not because you don't like your employer or the work that you're doing. You could lose your job because you refuse to give money to a union that comes in. That's just not right. That is completely unjust. But they are so focused on getting that agenda passed that they are willing to completely now, at this point, completely ignore, completely bury it in the press and everything else. They're willing to ignore all of these scandals going on at the executive level because it's far more important to them to get this incredibly radical agenda passed. So we have to maintain, if you want Virginia to continue to be a place that people want to do business, want to raise families, if we want to continue to have it to be a place where veterans feel like they can retire out of the military and then go directly into the workforce without having to jump through a bunch of hoops, we have to be able to maintain the majority in the General Assembly to bring some balance to again, just the extreme policies that are coming out of these new members, these new Democrat members of the Democrat caucus. Because, like you said, with Lee Carter, he is an avowed socialist. I don't think your average Democrat voter is an avowed socialist. But that's the sort of people that are starting to step up to represent them right now, and there has to be some sort of balance. And if we lose the General Assembly, that balance completely goes away.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's why this is so critical. And a lot of people have asked me, they said, John, how could you be pro-union and pro-right to work? Simple. I love unions. I grew up in a union household. My father was a union member his entire life, loved his union, bled for his union, but he believed in choice. He believed in, I want to be a member of the union. I don't want somebody to put a gun to my head and say, you have to pay this money and you have to join. That way, my union is more accountable to its members because it's voluntary. That's how you can be the same. Hey, let me just ask you this. Nick, we've only got a couple of minutes. The Alabama bill just passed, which is outlaws abortion after 6 weeks. Nick, a lot of people don't even know, a lot of women don't even know they're pregnant after 6 weeks. They might not know till 8 weeks or 9 weeks. A lot of them don't know after 6 weeks. That's number one. Number two, I mean, we do have Roe v. Wade. It is the law of the land. If that legislation came up in Virginia exactly as it is in Alabama, would you vote in favor of that or opposed?
Well, I think the important thing, here's my problem with the abortion debate as a whole in this country, is that we never actually define our terms. We have two camps, right? And I am pro-life, period. But we have two camps right now, and we've stopped talking about what we're actually doing and what abortion actually is, and we allow basically talking points on both sides to drive the conversation. And I brought this once up on the floor of the General Assembly. I said, what I find fascinating about this is that if you look at all of the scientific criteria that we use to distinguish between something that is living and not living, so a dog versus a chair, right? We can use that same criteria when we're talking about human life. If we use all of the scientific criteria that we use to distinguish between human life and non-human life, okay, the question is once we apply that criteria, once we look at it objectively, scientifically, what do we find? And what we find is that at the moment of conception, you possess all of the criteria to be considered a living organism. You possess all of the criteria to be considered human life, and you possess all of the legal criteria to be considered innocent human life. So I think we do need to be moving toward a position where we're protecting innocent human life, even at its most earliest and vulnerable stages. Now, I certainly understand the argument that when we're talking about life of the mother, because now we have two lives that are in jeopardy. I understand that when we talk about rape and incest, we're talking about two victims, not just one right now. And so I understand all those concerns, and I think we can have a productive conversation about that. But 97%, 96 to 97% of abortions are used as a form of birth control. And I think we really have to do a little bit of introspection here about us as a society when we're saying that in this stage, it's perfectly okay to destroy innocent human life. Because the other thing that this has done socially that nobody wants to talk about, we have a huge amount of absentee fathers within our society right now because those young men have been told their entire life, well, it's the woman's choice, it's the woman's body, I've got nothing to do with it. And so you have fathers not fulfilling their roles, not fulfilling their obligations, both to their children and to the women that they get pregnant, because they've been told, well, it's not my problem, it's not my business, that's her choice. So I think there's a couple different ways that we need to approach the abortion issue. One, we do need to realize that we are talking about innocent human life, and I think I would hope that all of us understand that innocent human life should be entitled to certain basic protections. Because if we don't protect your right to life, don't trust the government to protect any of your other rights. And the second thing that we have to do is we have to make sure that women understand that there are other options out there, that this is not about judging a woman in crisis. In fact, one of my biggest problems with the abortion industry is I feel like they're exploiting women in crisis by making them believe that there's no other options out there. So that's why we passed legislation last year with respect to our foster care omnibus bill that Senator Reeves did a great job on. So that's what we need to do. Yes, I think there's two ways that we need to tackle abortion. One, we do need to provide some basic legal protections for a child in the womb. And the other thing that we need to do is we need to be proactive on the other side, ensuring that when a child is born in a situation where a woman is in crisis, that there are mechanisms, there are communities that are coming together in order to ensure that that child can either be adopted, that woman can get the help that she needs. And I think one of the biggest things that needs to happen, and this is something that, again, is on men, is we need to start once again training our young men that you have an obligation.
Right.
You had better show up and you had better support that woman. You had better support that child, because you know what? When two people voluntarily engage, when they make a choice to engage in a sexual intercourse, knowing that it could bring about another human being, I think we need to emphasize the importance of the man once again stepping up and filling their role as fathers in society. Because look, I grew up in a broken home.
I gotta go.
Thankfully, my mother got pregnant when she was in college. She had a full ride scholarship. Things were going well. She wasn't married at the time. It would have been very, very easy for her to decide to have an abortion, but she chose to have me. And my father chose to step up and play his role. It didn't work out between mom and dad, but they both decided that they had an obligation to take responsibility for the choice that they had made and raise me, and I'm incredibly grateful for that. But I want a society in Virginia that once again reaffirms life and reaffirms that we are the sort of people that are going to come along and make sure that any time that a woman is in crisis, that a child is in crisis, that we're going to come alongside and provide them with the support they need. And I think that's the direction we need to go. And we need to remember that, again, the opposing position on this with respect to the left, it's not like the left is saying, okay, great, let's have some certain restrictions, let's make sure things are safe. They're not doing any of that,
Nick, I got to
John.
go. The John Fredericks Radio Network.